Greetings, brothers and sisters, and welcome to our Priesthood of All Believers series. This time we will look at the theme of Reach Your Oikos. And we'll look in Mark 5 at a story about a guy who Jesus healed, and then he went to go reach his oikos. Oikos is this concept of a household in the New Testament, and it encompassed all kinds of relationships, friendships, and things like that. And we'll see that as we look at the story. We are looking at the bigger story here of being the priesthood of all believers and how we are reborn to serve, how we have a passion to multiply, and the way that God would have us do that is to reach our oikos. In this season of Pentecost, we are remembering the saints. We are exalting the King. We are part of a great body. We are part of the body of saints who are united across space and time. And all of us are reborn to serve. All of us have a passion to multiply, and all of us are called to reach our oikos. All of our themes and teachings for this whole series have been drawn from this story of God, our sacred roots, this bigger story. The whole left side of this is what God has done. This is what is true because He has done it and because it is in His Word. And the whole right side is how we respond. It's what we do. It's how we become a part of the story. And these themes cover just the whole in broad strokes. They cover everything that God has done and everything that we do. And as we focus on being reborn to serve, it is affirming the church's unity, engaging in radical hospitality, extravagant generosity, and apostolic witness to the unreached. And it's this last one, the apostolic witness, that we will look at. We are going to look at Mark 5, and we're going to exegete this scripture, and then we'll explore the theme in scripture and experience one of the theme's takeaways. So the story in Mark 5 is a remarkable story of Jesus encountering this just wild person. And we're just going to look at a few verses here and there, and it's a longer story, but we'll just look at some parts of it to understand our theme of reaching our oikos. It says, when Jesus stepped out of the boat, and this is after he has stilled the storm. There is this great storm. Jesus stills the storm that night before, and then they come to the shore, and he steps out of the boat. And immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit. He lived among the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he had often been bound with shackles and chains, but he wrenched the chains apart, and he broke the shackles in pieces, and no one had the strength to subdue him. So Jesus, and it also says he was cutting himself with stones, and he's got, just all of this wildness about this guy, and you can sort of read over those verses and be like, oh yeah, he was wild, but literally he's ripping chains apart and breaking shackles in pieces. He is. This is a dangerous dude. This is a scary guy, frankly. If somebody that could do that, and is just completely out of control, completely, cannot be restrained. And this guy comes rushing out of the tombs as Jesus comes ashore, and he is, just a mess. I love this image from our Bible Blossom. It just kind of shows him as this wild dude with a sharp rock in his hand and just running around dirty. And so this guy is just, he comes out to meet Jesus, and he cries out in a loud voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me." And so Jesus asks, who are you? What's your name? He realizes, it's a demon-possessed man, and he says, we are a legion. We are many. We are a whole host of demons. And they come out and they recognize Jesus as the Son of God, and they beg him, don't torment us. And they beg him earnestly, do not send us out of the country. Don't send us out of this man into the abyss. And there was a great herd of pigs feeding there on the hillside, and they begged him, saying, send us to the pigs, let us enter them. So they have been possessing this man for a long time and have lived in him. And they're now saying, okay, well, if you're going to send us out of him, send us into the pigs. So he gave them permission. The unclean spirits came out of the man. They entered the pigs, and the herd, numbering about 2,000, rushed down the steep bank into the sea and drowned in the sea. I don't know if there was like one demon per pig, or I don't know how the numbers work out there, but 2,000 pigs. You could just imagine a herd of 2,000 pigs going off the edge of a cliff and into the sea. They immediately drown themselves. And so Jesus has freed this man, but destroyed an entire herd of pigs. And the shepherds run and they go tell all the people in town, and they come back out. And they came to Jesus and they see the demon-possessed man, the one who had the legion of demons sitting there, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. No kidding. I mean, this guy has been completely a dangerous person and completely out of control, and he appears at least to be sane now. He appears is not acting the way he acted. But then those who had seen it described to them what had happened to the demon-possessed man and to the pigs, and they're looking at it from their perspective, right? They're looking at it from the perspective of the pig herders. They see this guy, but also they see what happened to the pigs, and they actually beg Jesus to leave. They decide, okay, he healed this man. We've seen him do this amazing thing, but all of our pigs, they rushed into the sea, and they just decide we don't want anything to do with this. They're afraid. It's sort of terrifying. The power is terrifying. What else is going to happen to us if he stays around? That's kind of terrifying. And they beg him to leave, and so he's getting into his boat to leave. And as he's getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed with demons begged him that he might be with him. So this man is wanting to follow Jesus. He's wanting to come with him. But Jesus did not permit him and said to him, "Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." And he went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and everyone marveled. So this guy, he's been healed, he's been set free. I really wonder what it was like for him, to be sort of stuck inside there with all of those demons. He feels incredible. He feels amazing. He wants to follow Jesus. He wants to be with him. But Jesus says, "Go and tell your friends, tell the people you know how much the Lord has done for you. Go and tell them about how you went from being this uncontrollable wild man to being what they see now, a sane, clothed, speaking, regular person." And it's this ending part that really should draw our focus for the theme of Reach Your Oikos. Jesus told this man, go back where you're from, and all the people that knew you, all the people that had seen you acting crazy, all the people, your friends and your family, and all the people you have, all the people, connections you have there, and all the people you know in the Decapolis, which is like a region of 10 cities. Go back and tell them. And he did it, and everyone was just amazed. Jesus didn't go to those places and speak. It was not anything other than this man going and telling them how much the Lord had done for them. And that is exactly then the model that I want to sort of draw in terms of reaching our own oikos, about what God would have us do and how we would share the gospel with people. You tell your own oikos how much the Lord has done for you. Tell your oikos. Tell your connections, your friends, your family, the people that have known you, the people that saw you before. Tell them how much the Lord has done for you. That is what Jesus commanded this man to do, and I believe that's what Jesus would command us to do. Tell our oikos how much the Lord has done for you. This is actually, if you look back in Scripture, this was always God's design for how his word would be passed on from person to person. It was never just go out into a random place and start talking to people you don't know. From the very beginning of his people in Exodus, he said, "And when your children say to you, 'What do you mean by this service?' You shall say, it's the service of the Lord's Passover, for he passed over the houses of the people of Israel in Egypt, and when he struck the Egyptians down, but spared our houses. And the people bowed their heads and worshipped. So there's the great Exodus where the death angel comes through and kills all the firstborn of Egypt, and he passes over the houses, and then the Lord institutes this festival to reenact this, to remember this. But the point is then when people ask you, when the people see you doing this, when your children see you doing this, when anyone sees you doing this, then you have the opportunity to tell them what the Lord has done for you. The same thing in Joshua, when the people come to cross the Jordan River into the Promised Land. When your children ask in time to come, what do these stones mean to you? Then you shall tell them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it passed over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. So these stones shall be to the people of Israel a memorial forever. He had told the people to build up 12 stones in the middle of the river and then on the bank. And he does this specifically so that when they pass by, they'll remember, but also when they pass by, whoever they're with, they can tell them what the Lord had done for them. When we get into the New Testament and we're talking about how the apostles did ministry in Acts, we actually see then people calling together their oikos and gathering them to listen to the gospel, and we see whole households being saved. The story of Cornelius, Peter comes and is going to preach to these people, and on the following day, they entered Caesarea, and Cornelius was expecting them. So Peter and his entourage enter Caesarea, and Cornelius, this Gentile, is expecting them, and he'd called together his relatives and close friends. He had called together everyone he knew, and they were all going to hear the gospel together. I mean, that is a model that took place throughout the book of Acts. And even when we get forward into Paul's ministry, we see several times that, speaking here of Lydia, this woman in Philippi who was saved. It says, and after she was baptized, her household, that's the word oikos, her oikos as well, and she urged us, saying, if you have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come to my house and stay. And she prevailed upon us. And so she comes to salvation, but not just her whole household, her whole oikos, all of the people associated with her, this bigger, not just like her, husband and her kids, but this bigger network of people that made up a household in that time. It's just all kinds of connections, all kinds of relationships. And through her, then the whole household comes to know the Lord. So reach your oikos. If you want to experience one of the theme's takeaways, tell your oikos how much the Lord has done for you. Take this away with you. Tell somebody. Just tell somebody. If you have experienced the goodness of the Lord, if the Lord has done anything for you, tell somebody about it. It doesn't have to be as dramatic as this guy's story. I doubt there are very many of you that have sat naked in the wilderness and ripped chains and gassed your body. And that's probably not all of our story. It may not be that dramatic. But the Lord, if the Lord has done something in our lives, the Lord has done something to us. If we know him, if we have come to salvation in him, then he has done something for us. And whatever that is, whatever your story is, look around you, find somebody, tell them about it. That's what it means to reach your oikos. You don't have to go to far-flung places. If the Lord calls you to that, that's great. You don't have to travel. You don't have to find people you don't know. Look around, find somebody, tell somebody. Tell somebody what the Lord has done for you. Brothers and sisters, in this story of this man, Jesus says, go and tell all of your friends, all of your people, how much the Lord has done for you. Let us also reach our oikos. Let us understand what the Lord has done for us and tell somebody.